Hey everybody, hope your day's going well. Want to talk about the new Batman movie. Got to see an early screening of it on March 3rd, and we're going to talk about the Batman movie. But before we do, make sure you're liking and subscribing all these videos so you can get updates on new content that's coming out. I love new retellings of the tried and true Batman story. I think it's a killer story, and I think that it could be retold and redone in new ways for new generations that speak to the cultural moments that we're in. I want to kind of do a look at the new Batman film and just be honest with you. From a cinematic standpoint, the Batman is bad. It's not a good movie. It's not quite what the 1966 version of it is, and it's not quite what Joel Schumacher did in terms of destroying the Batman franchise. Make no mistake, trust me, it's still bad. You know, and when you think about the characters, Robert Pattinson playing Batman, had no problem with Robert Pattinson playing Batman. Believe it or not, you know, when people said Michael Keaton was going to be a bad Batman because of his physical stature and he just doesn't have that Batman thing about him, people were absolutely wrong. Batman was Michael Keaton for a long time, and probably still is to a lot of us who grew up during a certain time period. So I don't mind different people or unorthodox characters playing Batman. I think Robert Pattinson is fine. I was excited to see his interpretation of Batman, but it just didn't seem as if he felt comfortable in the Batsuit. It seemed like he was doing a cosplay version of other versions of Batman, more like a Christian Bale style Batman, and it just didn't play well. And he seemed uncomfortable. And there was this insistence on calling Batman Vengeance throughout the whole film. And I get that it can be a nickname or whatever, but it just didn't play well, and it could be confusing to the audience. So I didn't understand the insistence on calling Batman Vengeance the entire time. It just didn't play well. If we move into the Catwoman role, this was a character that brought nothing new to the character of Catwoman at all, or to the Selina Kyle character. There was nothing that expanded our knowledge of Catwoman. It seemed like you could do everything that Catwoman did without her in the film. Yeah, I mean, there was no situations or circumstances that Catwoman was in or contributed to that could not been solved by Batman or any of the detectives. It was just an add-on for the sake of add-on, and it was wonky and it was uncomfortable. It just didn't play well, in my opinion. It was an unnecessary character in the film, and second of all, they seemed to force this love story between Selina Kyle and Bruce Wayne in ways that just didn't seem to fit. It had no basis, and you know, they're sitting there arguing half the time, and then all of a sudden they're kissing, and you don't know why. There wasn't any kind of romantic tension between the two of them. It just seemed forced, and it was awkward. And the Selina Kyle for this film just had no reason to be there. It could have been added in a different take or in a different movie, but this one, it was just not what it was supposed to be. Now let's move to the redeemable part of this film, which was the Riddler. I found the Riddler character fresh and terrifying. And I mean absolutely terrifying. When we think about the Riddler, we tend to usually think of the 66 version of the Riddler, you know, the lime green question marks with the purple mask. Same thing with Jim Carrey, who I thought was just an outstanding Riddler, matched his personality. But this was a drastic, there was no lime green leotards, there was no goofy mask. I mean, this was a dark Riddler. Unorthodox in his speaking style, and really communicated a terrifying version of a psychopath that the Riddler really is. You know, it took it where Jim Carrey really hadn't done, or you know, the 66 version of Riddler. It just took it in a new direction, and if it wasn't for the Riddler in this film is nothing but a straight to DVD. I mean, the Riddler really does make this film terrifying, and really, honestly, he makes Robert Pattinson the Batman in this. Instead of Robert Pattinson being that bold character that you want to root for, you're rooting against the Riddler so much that it builds the credibility of Batman, and it sells the Batman by how terrifying the Riddler is, instead of the other way around. You don't go into the movie just automatically rooting for Batman. You go in rooting against this terrible evil, which is the Riddler. Fantastic. I love this aspect of the Riddler. Now, it's not necessarily for kids. If you're looking for like a family-friendly, 5 and under type of Batman film, this isn't your type of Batman film. I would save that for other versions of Batman, because this Riddler really is terrifying, and the things he does is quite psychologically, again, terrifying. But if you like the good story, if you like a retelling of a villain that is A+ done, this is the one. It brings in modern technology, brings in modern circumstances and scenarios, and he just really plays his character well. Now, all that being said, I kept waiting in this film for it to pick up speed, and it just never happened. It just seemed, honestly, about 30 minutes too long, and just droned on, and I was just waiting for the climax. When's this going to? Unfortunately, when is this going to end? When does this come to a resolution? And the soundtrack, man, it sounds very similar to the Dark Knight trilogy. They wanted to get that brooding soundtrack going, but man, it just never took hold. It was almost as if someone was making a YouTube video and laid some really bad, copyright free versions of a Batman soundtrack over that film. And I just never really bought into it. I never really fully bought into the fact that Robert Pattinson is Batman. I couldn't get past the fact that this is either Cedric Diggory from Harry Potter, or this was Edward Cullen from Twilight. You might say I just kept seeing a vampire bat the entire time he was on screen. It just never spoke to me. Catwoman completely wrote that character off, contributed nothing good. And there was just language in there that was just thrown in there to up the rating of the film. So I wouldn't necessarily take this as a serious Batman film. It's probably going to do very poorly at the box office. The best that you're going to get is straight to streaming on a Netflix or an HBO Max platform, and it's going to fizzle out. It's not going to go down as a 1989 Batman or even a Dark Knight trilogy. It's just not going to happen, even though they're trying to set it up for subsequent films at the end of the movie. It's just not going to happen. I would be very shocked if they make another Robert Pattinson Batman film. Those are my thoughts on the Batman movie, and I hope you find them useful. If you disagree with me, let me know down in the comment section. If you agree with me, let me know in the comment section. Make sure you're following and subscribing. I'd love to hear what your thoughts on them. You don't have to agree with me. You don't have to see it my way. These are just my thoughts off the cuff, and I hope you enjoy it. I would recommend and say, let me know after you see it, but I'm not recommending you go see it. So do your thing and let me know what you think. All right, man. We'll see you later, and thanks for stopping by, and we'll catch you on the next episode. See you later.